This is another example of just how versatile the router is and how important it is to have the right router and the right cutter for the job. In this instance, I'm using a tiny cordless router on my acoustic guitar easy build project, the demonstration guitar, and I'm recutting the bridge saddle groove as it appears not to be level and has affected the volume of each guitar string when an undersaddle pickup is used. In fact, let's look at the problem first, and please watch this video to the end and not make quick judgments, as there's a lot of useful information and ideas that I'm sharing with you, whether you are building a guitar or doing any kind of woodworking. Now, even the most experienced woodworkers make mistakes, and whilst video filming the tutorials for making this guitar, I made the mistake of getting the neck to body angle slightly wrong. So I had to make a deeper bridge saddle to compensate for this, and that involved greater string pressure when you look at the angle of the string anchorage. And then when I cut the saddle groove in a similar way to what I'm doing now, the plunge lock on this router must have slipped slightly, as I eventually discovered the channel was slightly stepped. Now this affected the contact between the bridge saddle and the undersaddle pickup, and I eventually discovered that the channel was slightly stepped. I spent weeks trying to refit different pickups, trying every which way. It was driving me mad because I could not get this high vibe system to work properly. You can see at one stage I used carved body filler to re-level the groove. So a fundamental rule in woodworking is get it right first time. Another rule is to check, check and check again. Now you notice that I've recut the groove freehand without a fence, but I'm taking off an absolute fraction of stock, so I have firm control of the router. But of course I could use a glue gun to add a guide for the router. I'm using acrylic for the saddle. This is an electroacoustic guitar and plastic is fine and has the advantage of being cut from a sheet. Masking tape is a wonderful clamping system, and you can see I've used strips of wood as a surface platform for the router. Now I've had to build the bridge up as my saddle is deeper than normal, so I cut some strips of rosewood to pack up the bridge and get the string tension right. It's a joy using a big bandsaw for delicate work in the same way that a tiny router can achieve complex tasks. See how I use a sub-bass to prevent fibre breakout. Rosewood is known for being a greasy wood, and I roughed up the contact surfaces first and then used a super glue. So there was a little guesswork in getting the rosewood packing piece the right thickness and checking the string height with a straight piece of wood. This gives an indication of the angle of the strings as they are anchored to the bridge, which is crucially affecting the volume of the strings as well as the evenness of the saddle groove. I notice on YouTube there are many videos tackling this problem of uneven string volume when using undersaddle pickups. I really hope I solved this after months of not being able to fully enjoy the high vibe preamp that I fitted to this guitar. See my video on installing the high vibe. Now I used super glue but wasn't entirely happy with it, so I pulled the wood off rather easily and resorted to using my favourite Titebond glue. In fact, I used a quick set version that Titebond sent me recently to try out. Oh dear, what did I say about getting woodwork right first time? This job is beginning to get messy. Now I realised I needed to use a gap filling glue, so I started again, cleaning all the surfaces and I eventually used an epoxy glue. A little bit of cleaning up with aluminium oxide abrasive paper and tapering the wood additions to the bridge to blend it all in. Now to fit the undersaddle pickup. I never know whether it's called piezo or pizzo, but most guitarists know what it is. And I have to say they do vary in sensitivity, and I tried out several brands and resorted to, well, the brand leader, Artec. The advantage of using acrylic for the bridge saddle is you can cut the right size from a sheet, whereas standard bone saddles are restricted to a certain size. A plastic saddle and top nut are fine. I've never had a guitarist come up to me when playing and say, "What a terrible sound, you're using plastic for the saddle." The choice of amplifier or loudspeaker is more important for the sound that I want to achieve, believe me. And now to string the guitar. I'm fitting low tension nylon strings. Well, I used a pine neck for this easy build guitar. I think this is called a fisherman's knot, but it's the same I use for tying flies on the end of my trout fishing line. The edge of the saddle, of course, has to be rounded off to avoid buzz. I had to modify the machine head rollers, as I explained in a previous video that I combined steel and nylon string machine head mounting on this demo guitar. But as I've now dedicated it to nylon strings for my own use, then I need the nylon machine heads. Nylon strings are softer on the fingers. And of course, tuning up is a bit of a pain, as for a day or two it will need retuning. But now to see whether I've solved the uneven string volume problem. Yes, the eureka moment, and I can now play this guitar using the high vibe system, which includes a looper and my backing tracks. Now I'm using the camcorder microphone to capture the sound coming through two Samson loudspeakers. You can never get an accurate sound on YouTube, but please take my word for it, this guitar delivers a really rich sound. Just one request to Mr. High Vibe. Please make the display readable for street performers, as I can't see a thing when playing outdoors in bright sunlight. Please check the description for links to purchasing my acoustic guitar easy build project, which enables any musician with modest woodworking experience and very basic tools and equipment to build this superb guitar. Thanks for watching.